Hi guys, and welcome back to the R100 community. We're back in the garage, but it's not the old garage, it's a new garage. Back in February, we moved house and I've ended up with a bigger garage, which is obviously fantastic, but that does mean there are some garage projects to do. So we're going to take a break from the motorcycles for a couple of videos, and we're going to do some little garage projects as we go along. We've already started. I've already done a few projects. First of all, my friends at Delta Door Systems fitted an insulated roller shutter door for me with an alarm system, and it's operated internally and from a remote control, so that's fantastic. Obviously the toolboard's fitted. We love the toolboard, had to go back. The toolboxes are here, some shelves are already built over there, the pillar drill's in here, the welder's in here. So we've done a few things already. What have we got to do moving forward? I need some better lighting in here. I've got one double fluorescent tube above me, so that needs replacing, probably for a few LED strip lights. I don't know yet, haven't made my mind up. But the first project that we're going to concentrate on today and in this video is my new lathe. So I've picked up a Draper mini lathe from a friend of mine who done a garage clearance. Dropped me a message, said he had one for sale, knew I was looking for one, so I purchased it off of him. It didn't include a stand or a cupboard that it was sitting on, which is a good thing because that probably wouldn't have fitted in the garage very well. So in this video, I'm going to make one. Okay, so I hope you enjoy, guys. Don't forget, hit subscribe, hit like, and again, apologies for all the bad video editing that is about to happen. So here is the lathe, guys, that I need to build a bench for. It's new to me, but it is a second-hand lathe. I have done nothing to it yet. I haven't cleaned it. I have turned it on and tested it. All the high-low rangings work, stuff like that. Everything's moving nice and freely, but it's still covered in somebody else's oil and grit and swarf, so that all needs sorting out. It's 240 volt single phase, 250 watt. Maximum working turning capacity is about 180 mil, I think, and it's 200 to 300 mil between centers. This is the first lathe that I've ever owned. I haven't touched a lathe since I was at school. That was a long time ago. So let's see how we get on with a few simple projects to start with. What did the lathe come with? Well, somebody's already put a quick release tool post on it, which is nice. So I've got several different attachments here for the tool post. A set of cutting bits came with it, as well as the chucks and bits and bobs like that. And I can see that someone's made this 6mm Allen key up to take the end cover off here. But one of my first projects might be to make some little thumb screws to make that nice and easy for myself. So where do we want this to sit? So I want this to sit over here in the garage. So I've made this bench up. Okay, I ordered some 30mm box section from the metal store online. I'll put a link below. And I ordered some 2mm sheet steel. Okay, so unfortunately I didn't video this as I was cutting it up, but I've got some more to do, so I will do that as we move forward. It's got some weird clear primer on it at the moment, which I've used before, and it's actually really good. So I gave this has actually had a coat of primer last night. So I finished this framework yesterday, bolted it to the wall, not only at the top here, but also down here on the shelf. And as you can see, another one up in there. So I've got a nice old toolbox that used to belong to my granddad. This shelf is at a perfect height where the toolbox can sit on that shelf and have a lot of the cutting tools in and pieces for the lathe. So that's going to look nice as well. I wasn't going to put a top on it. I was just going to bolt the lathe straight to it. I lifted the lathe onto it yesterday, and it wasn't right. There was too much space, too many holes. I'm going to end up with swarf everywhere, and I'm going to end up dropping tools down the hole and so on and so forth. So I made this top for it, okay, and marked it out so the lathe bolts through it. Here it is with the top on, guys. I haven't welded the top on, so I'm going to bolt it down first, give it a go, see how I get on. Am I going to end up catching myself and cutting myself on the edges because I haven't sealed it off? I don't know. Let's wait and see what happens, okay? So that's the bench. I'm probably going to give it a lick of paint in a second, just to stop it from corroding. What else have I got to do? Well, I need to run a plug socket down, okay, so that we've got a double plug socket on the wall to power the lathe up. And I'm also going to fit a shelf. I've got some leftover box section. I've got a decent piece of timber that will do for a nice shelf, so I'm going to stick a shelf above it and get some electric there as well, and then we can get the lathe bolted on, okay? Right, so we're going to start by fitting the electric down to the bench that we've already built. Okay, so got a few tools here. Got my Milwaukee cordless drill and cordless driver. I've got some cable, junction box. I've got a double socket box, got a new socket. I know that the socket box and the socket and the junction box should all be steel because it's a workshop. That's what I've got at the moment, so that's what we'll be using, okay? Got some screws, drill bits, got some wall plugs. So there's only one plug socket in this garage at the moment. So we're just gonna hook into that and run another plug socket down to the lathe, guys, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and get that done now. Okay, so plug socket fitted, ready for the lathe, just above the bench. Let's have a quick test. Splendid. So that's all working okay, so we've got some power for the lathe. The next thing I want to do before we mount the lathe or paint the new bench while I've still got a bit of space is let's get a shelf fitted up there. So what we've done so far, guys, is cut a piece of timber that's actually come from a bigger shelf in my old garage. Cut a little notch in the back to go over the new wiring, and I've used some of the 30mm box section and just going to make 3 brackets up to bolt to the bottom of the shelf, and then 3 more brackets up which will weld together and then bolt those ones to the wall. So I've got these clamped on here. I've got to drill some holes in these, so I thought while we've got it bolted to a piece of timber or clamped to a piece of timber on the trestles is probably a good place to do that. So what we're doing here, guys, is tidying up a couple of tools first, and then getting the pilot holes drilled in the box section, and a small pilot hole down into the timber as well. Going ahead, popping some wood screws in there. Whoops, looks like I may have picked the wrong size wood screws to put in first of all, so just change them out for some bigger ones, just making sure they don't go all the way through, and that's fantastic. Take the clamp off the end, put the M1 in, and then repeating the process for the next two pieces of box section. Just taking that G clamp off the M1 and putting that pressure clamp on, and popping the wood screws in there, and that's come out an absolute treat. Just marking it up against the wall again to make sure it still fits flush, and taking some measurements for the upright and marking out some more box section. They were 150mm each, so just marking them out with a set square. And then just putting the cutting disc on the grinder and cutting the box section out. Interrupted there by the wife by the looks of it. And setting the uprights up with some welding magnets here, and they fitted nicely over the screws, which meant it kept it all nice and square while we welded it up. They're a fantastic piece of kit, those welding magnets. Only downside is they do pick up all the swarf as you're going along, so they often need a good clean. I'll pop the links for the welding magnets. They're really cheap. I'll pop the link for them down below as well. Just going ahead here and welding up the uprights, and then cleaning down some of the welding there. Okay, that's the uprights welded on, all three of them. Okay, and had a couple of problems with the welder at the beginning. It's a fantastic welder. It's a Sealy Super MIG 185. I haven't used it for a couple of years, so it's sat around for a couple of years, and I'm a couple of years out of practice, so probably needs a new torch. I had to stop, put a new tip in, sorted out the wire feed a little bit, and it was good to go again. So we need to bolt these to the wall now, and what the eagle-eyed amongst you may have noticed is it probably would have been easier, or it definitely would have been easier, for me to drill a couple of fixings into these before I welded them on there. It's not the end of the world, but yes, it would have been a little bit easier to do that in the vise. So I'm going to flick the shelf around now, mark 6 holes out, 2 in each. They need to be 10mm in diameter, so going to stick some pilot holes in, then go through with a 10mm drill bit and mark it out on the wall, and get it fixed up on the wall. So I've marked the 6 holes out, pilot drill, and then a 10mm drill bit through each one. Held the shelf up against the wall and just made some light pilot holes with my Milwaukee drill. What we're going to do now is got some fixings here. These wall plugs require a 12mm drill bit, so got a masonry bit, it's an SDS bit, so I've got an STS drill. It's just a cheap one. Don't use it loads, but it does the job great. Then I've got these fixings. They've got a 13mm head. We'll pop a washer on them as well and get it all bolted up to the wall. And my cheap STS drill and 12mm drill bit makes light work of the wall here and drills out those 6 holes for the wall plugs quite easily. Now needs a good dusting off. Power's in. She's nice and straight. Job's a good one. The only thing that's gonna bug me is we need some ideas to put in here. Now I'm sure there's a simple answer, but I'm sure we can also over-engineer it. So maybe one of the first lathe projects is to turn something square in a lathe just to pop into these holes. I'll have a think about it. You guys have a think about it. Pop it in the comments below if you've got any ideas and let me know and we'll get something done. Next stage, going to get it all painted up and then call it a day. We'll come out tomorrow and we'll get the lathe bolted onto the bench. Okay guys, that's all the metal work painted. Just got to put some bolts back in the wall tomorrow when it's dry. Haven't painted the shelf yet. I will do at some point, but haven't made my mind up what colour to do it yet, or maybe thinking of an alternative there. So tomorrow we'll carry on. We'll get the top back on the shelf. We'll get it bolted to the wall, get the masking tape off, and get the lathe bolted to the bench, and then start having a look at the lathe and giving the lathe a service. So thanks for joining us, guys. Again, like we said at the beginning of the video, hit subscribe down below, give us a like, and share it to anyone you think might be interested. Thanks everyone.